Right, what's up everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Today is March 27th, 2026, exactly 10:15 p.m. where I'm at right now, and we are continuing our 20th book in our Books React series. This is episode 12 of Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Today we will be reading chapters 14 and 15, picking up where we left off, where our main character is out and about in the streets of New York after getting lobotomized, forgetting who he is, reconnecting with his black identity, and actively being recruited by a left-wing mysterious organization. Like I said, for today, we will be reading about 30 pages. This will be chapters 14 and 15. For the next few episodes, we will be reading 50 pages at least. So for the next few live streams that we will be doing, knocking out this book that I love so much, we're going to take this on in about 50 pages per episode. So we will be finishing this by Tuesday of next week. And that's because I'm going to be on spring break for school. So, I will have more free time to come on live. And I'll also be doing some more work as well, maybe doing some other videos on the side. Shout out to Alkio Edits. Shout out to Alkio Edits 1 up in the live stream for the vertical live stream. Anybody that comes into the live stream, I will give you a shout out. If you come into the live stream, I will give you a shout out. Shout out to Alkio Edits for another comment. I appreciate that. Every time you leave a comment, you will get a shout out, no matter who it is, okay? Shout out to Logan Peterson up in the chat. Everybody else joining the live stream, I appreciate all of you coming in to our open source book club for the people, where we read all types of texts. And in this case, we're tackling one of the most interesting, most profound, the best, I would argue, work of African-American fiction. So, without further ado, let's clear out the room right now by starting chapter 14. The odor of Mary's cabbage changed my mind. Shout out to Logan Peterson. All right. You can see the subs on the channel. You can see how many subs we have by clicking my name on the channel, and you can find out right then and there. Okay. Anyway. So, the odor of Mary's cabbage changed my mind. Standing engulfed in the fumes filling the hall, it struck me that I couldn't realistically reject the job. Cabbage was always a depressing reminder of the leaner years of my childhood, and I suffered silently whenever she served it. But this was the third time within the week, and it dawned on me that Mary must be short of money. All right? Shout out to Alkio Edits up in the chat as well for all the comments. And here, I've been congratulating myself for refusing a job. I thought, when I don't even know how much money I owe her, I felt a quick sickness grow within me. How could I face her? I went quietly to my room and I lay upon the bed, brooding. There were other roomers who had jobs, and I knew she received help from relatives. Still, there was no mistake. Mary loved a variety of food, and this concentration upon cabbage was no accident. Why hadn't I noticed it? She'd been too kind, never dunning me, and I lay there hearing her. Don't come bothering me with your little troubles, boy. You'll get something by. You'll get something by and by. When I would try to apologize for not paying my rent and board, perhaps another roomer had moved or lost his job. What were Mary's problems anyway? Who articulated her grievances, as the red-headed man had put it? She had kept me going for months, yet I had no idea. What kind of man was I becoming? I had taken her so much for granted that I hadn't even thought of my debt when I refused the job, nor had I considered the embarrassment I might have caused her should the police come to her home to arrest me for making that wild speech. Suddenly, I felt an urge to go look at her. Perhaps I had really never seen her. I had been acting like a child, not a man. Shout out to Alkio Edits up in the chat. Shout out to TB. Shout out to Toji, the creator, up in the chat as well. And shout out to Logan Peterson. Okay? Shout out to everybody else joining the live stream. I appreciate all of the comments. I appreciate all of that. Let's keep this thing going, okay? Anyway. Taking out the crumpled paper, I looked at the telephone number. He had mentioned an organization. What was it? I hadn't inquired. What a fool. At least I should have learned what I was turning down, although I distrusted the red-headed man. Had I refused out of fear as well as from resentment? Why didn't he just tell me what it was all about instead of trying to impress me with his knowledge? So if you didn't watch the previous episodes, our main character, the unnamed, faceless, black character living in New York City currently at this time in the early 20th century. You know, he's bumming at this lady's house who picked him up when he was homeless in New York City. He got involved with a wild protest against police brutality, and he got offered a job by this crazy leftist who came up to him ranting about history and a new man being created and stuff like that. So now he feels bad he didn't accept the job because he's been bumming on this lady's couch for so long. All right? So shout out to Toji, the creator. He asked, is it morning right now at the USA? That is a silly question because if you've been paying attention to my channel, you would know that I am in Budapest, Hungary. Then, from down the hall, I could hear Mary singing, her voice clear and untroubled, though she sang a troubled song. It was the Blackwater Blues. I lay listening as the sound flowed to me and around me, bringing me a calm sense of my indebtedness. When it faded, I got up and put on my coat. Perhaps it was not too late. I would find a telephone and call him. Then he could tell me exactly what he wanted, and I could make a sensible decision. Mary heard me this time. Boy, when you come home, she said, sticking her head out of the kitchen. I didn't even hear you. I came in a short while ago, I said. You were busy, so I didn't bother you. Then where are you going so soon? Ain't you going to eat supper? Yes, Mary, I said, but I've got to go out now. I forgot to take care of some business. Shucks, what kind of business you got on a cold night like this? She said. Oh, I don't know. I might have a surprise for you. Won't nothing surprise me, she said, and you hurry on back here and get something hot in your stomach. Going through the cold, seeking a telephone booth, I realized that I had committed myself to bring her some kind of surprise, and as I walked, I became mildly enthusiastic. It was, after all, a job that promised to exercise my talent for public speaking, and if the pay was anything at all, it would be more than I had now. At least I could pay Mary something of what I owed her, and she might receive some satisfaction that her prediction had proved correct. I seemed to be haunted by cabbage fumes. The little luncheonette in which I found the telephone was reeking. All right. Shout out to PUBG Flip-Flops up in the chat. Shout out to PUBG Flip-Flops up in the chat. And everybody else leaving comments. I appreciate all of you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Continuing. Brother Jack didn't sound at all surprised upon receiving my call. I'd like some information about... Get here as quickly as you can. We're leaving shortly, he said, giving me a Lenox Avenue address and hanging up before I could finish my request. I went out into the cold, annoyed by his lack of surprise and by the short, clipped manner in which he'd spoken, but I started out, taking my own time. It wasn't far, and just as I reached the corner of Lenox, a car pulled up and I saw several men inside, Jack among them, smiling. Get in, he said. We can talk where we're going. It's a party. You might like it. But I'm not dressed, I said. I'll call you tomorrow. Dressed, he chuckled. You're all right. Get in. I got in, beside him and the driver, noticing that there were 3 men in the back. Then the car moved off. See, this is just dumb. See, this is like the main character sometimes does some stupid stuff, and this is one of those times. Anyway, shout out to Caprello up in the chat. Shout out to Caprello showing love. Always, I appreciate Caprello. Every time we go live, we got Caprello up in the chat showing mad love. I appreciate you, Caprello. Salute to Caprello up in the chat. Continuing here. No one spoke. Brother Jack seemed to sink immediately into deep thought. The others looked out into the night. It was as though we were mere chance passengers in a subway car. I felt uneasy, wondering where we were going, but decided to say nothing. The car shot swiftly over the slush. Looking out at the passing night, I wondered what kind of men they were. Certainly, they didn't act as though they were heading for a very sociable evening. I was hungry, and I wouldn't get back in time for supper. Well, maybe it would be worth it, both to Mary and to me. At least I wouldn't have to eat that cabbage. What a dumbass. Don't just get in the car with some strange guys that you just met. Man, they might be about to do a flock. They might be about to do a flock or walk down on somebody, and here you are just hopping in the car. All right. So for a moment, the car paused for the traffic light. Then we were circling swiftly through long stretches of snow-covered landscape, lighted here and there by street lamps and the nervously stabbing beams of passing cars. We were flashing through Central Park, now completely transformed by the snow. It was as though we had plunged suddenly into mid-country peace. Yet I knew that here, somewhere close by in the night, there was a zoo with its dangerous animals. The lions and tigers in heated cages, the bears asleep, the snakes coiled tightly underground, and there was also the reservoir of dark water, all covered by snow and by night, by snowfall and by nightfall, buried beneath black and white, gray mist and gray silence. Then, past the driver's head, I could see a wall of buildings looming beyond the windshield. The car nosed slowly into traffic, dropped swiftly down a hill. We stopped before an expensive-looking building in a strange part of the city. I could see the word Chthonian on the storm awning stretched above the walk as I got out with the others and went swiftly toward a lobby lighted by dim bulbs set behind frosted glass, going past the uniformed doorman with an uncanny sense of familiarity. Feeling now, as we entered a soundproof elevator and shot away at a mile a minute, that I had been through it all before. Then we were stopping with a gentle bounce, and I was uncertain whether we had gone up or down. Brother Jack guided me down the hall to a door on which I saw a bronze door knocker in the shape of a large-eyed owl. Now he hesitated a moment, his head thrust forward as though listening. Then his hand covered the owl from view, producing instead of the knock which I expected, an icy peal of clear chimes. Shortly, the door swung partly open, revealing a smartly dressed woman whose hard, handsome face broke into smiles. Okay, this must have been what it was like to go to a Diddy party or to go to one of them freak-offs. It was like you up in some elevator that just shoots up. You go down a hallway, long hallway. You see an owl that you think you got to knock it, but you just put your hand on it. The owl goes cuckoo. And then here comes Cassie at the door. And now it's time for the freak off. Baby oil everywhere. This main character is really dumb. It's really fucking dumb. How do you just end up in these types of situations, son? Anyway, come in, brothers, she said, her exotic perfume filling the foyer. I noticed a clip of blazing diamonds on her dress as I tried to stand aside for the others, but Brother Jack pushed me ahead. "Excuse me," I said, but she held her ground, and I was pressing tensely against her perfumed softness, seeing her smile as though there were only she and I. Then I was past, disturbed not so much by the close contact as by the sense that I had somehow been through it all before. I couldn't decide if it were from watching some similar scene in the movies, from books I'd read, or from some recurrent but deeply buried dream. Whatsoever, it was like entering a scene which, because of some devious circumstance, I had hitherto watched only from a distance. How could they have such an expensive place, I wondered. "Put your things in the study," the woman said. "I'll go see about drinks." We entered a room lined with books and decorated with old musical instruments. An Irish harp, a hunter's horn, a clarinet, and a wooden flute were suspended by the neck from the wall on pink and blue ribbons. There were a leather divan and a number of easy chairs. "Throw your coat on the divan," Brother Jack said. I slid out of the overcoat and looked around. The dial of the radio, built into a section of the natural mahogany bookshelf, was lighted, but I couldn't hear any sound, and there was an ample desk on which rested silver and crystal writing things. And as one of the men came to stand gazing at the bookcase, I was struck by the contrast between the richness of the room and their rather poor clothing. "Now we'll go into the other room," Brother Jack said, taking me by the arm. We entered a large room in which one entire wall was hung with Italian red draperies that fell in rich folds from the ceiling. A number of well-dressed men and women were gathered in groups, some beside a grand piano, the others lounging in the pale beige upholstery of the blood wood chairs. Okay, this sounds like an Illuminati meeting. Sounds like he pulled up in the Illuminati. All right, shout out to Chizaram Avita. Shout out to Chizaram Avita. I'm just not seeing you. Chizaram, shout out to you. And everybody else in the live stream, if you leave a comment, you get a shout out. Absolutely. Let's continue here. So, Here and there, I saw several attractive young women, but carefully avoided giving them more than a glance. I felt extremely uncomfortable, although after brief glances, no one paid me any special attention. It was as though they hadn't seen me, as though I were here and yet not here. The others were moving away to join the various groups now, and Brother Jack took my arm. "Come, let's get a drink," he said, guiding me toward the end of the room. All right. Shout out to iDeuce. Shout out to iDeuce up in the chat. See ya. Hojvaj. I'm doing well. Shout out to Edeuce up in the chat. Anyway, "Come, let's get a drink," he said, guiding me towards the end of the room. The woman who let us in was mixing drinks behind a handsome free-form bar, which was large enough to have graced a nightclub. "How about a drink for us, Emma?" Brother Jack said. "Well, now, I'll have to think about it," she said, tilting her severely drawn head and smiling. "Don't think, act," he said. "We're very thirsty men. This young man pushed history ahead 20 years today." "Oh," she said, her eyes becoming intent. You must tell me about him." Okay? "Just read the morning papers, Emma. Things have begun to move. Yes, leap ahead." He laughed deeply. "What would you like, brother?" she said, her eyes brushing slowly over my face. "Bourbon," I said, a little too loudly. All right. God bless you too, Edus, and everybody else. Shout out to all the Hungarians who are tuning into this live stream. If you want English lessons, holla at your boy. I'm an English teacher as well. So aside from doing these live readings of books, I also do personal classes. Just hit my email and we can have one-on-one chats where I can help you improve your English. Continuing here. "Bourbon," I said, a little too loudly, as I remembered the best the South had to offer. My face was warm, but I returned her glance as steadily as I dared. It was not the harsh, uninterested in you as a human being stare that I'd known in the South, the kind that swept over a black man as though he were a horse or an insect. It was something more, a direct, "what type of mere man have we here" kind of look that seemed to go beneath my skin. Somewhere in my leg, a muscle twitched violently. "Emma, the bourbon, 2 bourbons, Brother Jack said. "You know," she said, picking up a decanter, "I'm intrigued." "Naturally, always," he said. "Intrigued and intriguing, but we're dying of thirst." "Only of impatience," she said, pouring the drinks. "I mean, you are. Tell me, where did you find this young hero of the people?" "I didn't," Brother Jack said. "He simply arose out of a crowd. The people always throw up their leaders, you know." "Throw them up," she said. "Nonsense. They chew them up and spit them out. Their leaders are made, not born. Then they're destroyed. You've always said that. Here you are, brother." He looked at her steadily. I took the heavy crystal glass and raised it to my lips, glad for an excuse to turn from her eyes. A haze of cigarette smoke drifted through the room. I heard a series of rich arpeggios sound on the piano behind me and turned to look, hearing the woman, Emma, say not quite softly enough, "But don't you think he should be a little blacker?" Okay. What leftists are we hanging out with? Shout out to iDeuce, showing love. I appreciate that, iDeuce. Mad love to you. Salute to you, iDeuce. Okay, or is it Idouche? Because it's Hungarian, right? Idouche. Anyway. "Shh, don't be a damn fool," Brother Jack said sharply. "We're not interested in his looks, but in his voice. And I suggest, Emma, that you make it your interest too." Suddenly, hot and breathless, I saw a window across the room and went over instead of looking out. We were up very high. Street lamps and traffic cut patterns in the night below. "So she doesn't think I'm black enough. What does she want? A black-faced comedian? Who is she, anyway? Brother Jack's wife? His girlfriend? Maybe she wants to see me sweat coal tar ink, shoe polish, graphite. What was I, a man or a natural resource? Every chapter, he meets a character that doesn't see his true humanness. It's always some projection based on his blackness. Hence, the core, the theme, the main theme, the powerful theme of Invisible Man. Continuing. The window was so high, and I could barely hear the sound of traffic below. This was a bad beginning, but hell, I was being hired by Brother Jack if he still wanted me, not this Emma woman. I'd like to show her how really black I am, I thought, taking a big drink of the bourbon. It was smooth, cold. I'd have to be careful with the stuff. Anything might happen if I had too much. With these people, I'll have to be careful. Always careful. With all people, I'll have to be careful. It's a pleasant view, isn't it? A voice said, and I whirled to see a tall, dark man. But now, would you mind joining us in the library, he said. Brother Jack, the men who had come along in the car and two others whom I hadn't seen before were waiting. Come in, brother, Jack said. Business before pleasure is always a good rule, whoever you are. Someday the rule shall be business with pleasure, for the joy of labor shall have been restored. Sit down. I took the chair directly before him, wondering what his speech was all about. You know, brother, he said, we don't ordinarily interrupt our social gatherings with business, but with you it's necessary. I'm very sorry, I said. I should have called you earlier. Sorry, why? We're only too glad to do so. We've been waiting for you for months, or for someone who could do what you've done. But what? I said. What are we doing? What is our mission? It's simple. We are working for a better world for all people. It's that simple. Too many have been dispossessed of their heritage, and we have banded together in Brotherhood so as to do something about it. What do you think of that? All right. Shout out to Alkio Edits, one up in the chat. Shout out to Alkio Edits and everybody else showing love. I appreciate you showing love. Salute to all of you in the live stream right now. Okay. Continuing. So, why? I think it's fine, I said, trying to take in the full meaning of his words. I think it's excellent. But how? By moving them to action, just as you did this morning. Brothers, I was there, he said to the others, and he was magnificent. With a few words, he set off an effective demonstration against evictions. I was present too, another said. It was amazing. Tell us something of your background, Brother Jack said, his voice and manner demanding truthful answers. And I explained briefly that I had come up looking for work to pay my way through college and had failed. Do you still plan to return? Not now, I said. I'm all done with that. It's just as well, Brother Jack said. You have little to learn down there. However, college training is not a bad thing. Although you'll have to forget it. You'll have to forget most of it. Did you study economics? Some. Sociology? Yes. Well, let me advise you to forget it. You'll be given books to read along with some material that explains our program in detail. But we're moving too fast. Perhaps you are interested in working for the Brotherhood. But you haven't told me what I'm supposed to do, I said. He looked at me fixedly, picking up his glass slowly and taking a long swallow. Let's put it this way, he said. How would you like to be the new Booker T. Washington? All right. Shout out to AP3D8B. AP3D8B, salute to you. Showing love, joining the live stream. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for real. All right. What? I looked into his bland eyes for laughter, seeing his red head turn slightly to the side. Please now, I said. Oh, yes, I'm serious. Then I don't understand you. Was I drunk? I looked at him. He seemed sober. What do you think of the idea? Or better still, what do you think of Booker T. Washington? Why, naturally, I think he was an important figure. At least most people say so. But, well, I was at a loss for words. He was going too fast again. The whole idea was insane, and yet the others were looking at me calmly. One of them was lighting up an underslung pipe. The match sputtered, caught fire. What is it? Brother Jack insisted. Well, I guess I don't think he was as great as the founder. Oh, and why not? Well, in the first place, the founder came before him and did practically everything Booker T. Washington did and a lot more. And more people believed in him. You hear a lot of arguments about Booker T. Washington, but few would argue about the founder. No, but perhaps that is because the founder lies outside history, while Washington is still a living force. However, the new Washington shall work for the poor. So very interesting. You know, the founder was this character that they spoke about in the chapters during his time in college. That was apparently this man who rose up from slavery to found this higher learning institution that uplifted his people, and he did it all with his bare palms, you know what I mean, with the strength in his spine, you know what I mean? And I thought that was supposed to be a play on Booker T. Washington, because that's Booker T. Washington's story, you know, up from slavery, pick yourself up by the bootstraps, right? And here we find out that the founder and Booker T. Washington are two separate characters. Booker T. Washington actually exists in the Invisible Man universe, but in this case, the founder is a man who precedes him in time and also greatness in the mind of the main character. Okay, continuing here. So, I looked into my crystal glass of bourbon. It was unbelievable, yet strangely exciting, and I had the sense of being present at the creation of important events, as though a curtain had been parted, and I was being allowed to glimpse how the country operated. And yet none of these men was well known, or at least I'd never seen their faces in the newspapers. During these times of indecision, when all the old answers are proven false, the people look back to the dead to give them a clue. He went on, they call first upon one and then upon another of those who have acted in the past. If you please, brother, the man with the pipe interrupted, I think you should speak more concretely. Please don't interrupt, Brother Jack said icily. I wish only to point out that a scientific terminology exists, the man said, emphasizing his words with his pipe. After all, we call ourselves scientists here. Let us speak as scientists. So once again, this is all a play, a big riff, a big type of sarcastic parody of communists, of socialists who think only about economics, who want to disregard race or only use race as an avatar to talk about class issues, class conflict, right? And even though I'm a socialist, communist, leftist, however you want to frame it, I find this funny. I think you should always be able to laugh at yourself. There was a reason why, during my hardcore Muslim stage, when I was heavy on deen, shaving the mustache, had the beard, 5 times a day praying, fasting, Mondays and Thursdays, no consumption of Hummer, you know what I mean? No Zena. I was heavy on deen. But even when I was heavy on deen, I read Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses. You know what I mean? Because you have to be able to laugh at and critique your own ideology, your own worldview. You shouldn't just accept everything that comes before you, even if you choose it at your own volition, whatever idea that may be. You should always seek criticism of it and have self-reflection. Anyway, I'll continue here. In due time, Brother Jack said, in due time. You see, brother, he said, turning to me, the trouble is that there is little the dead can do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the dead. No, but on the other hand, it would be a great mistake to assume that the dead are absolutely powerless. They are powerless only to give the full answer to the new questions posed for the living by history. But they try. Whenever they hear the imperious cries of the people in a crisis, the dead respond. Right now, in this country, with its many national groups, all the old heroes are being called back to life. Jefferson, Jackson, Pulaski, Garibaldi, Booker T. Washington, Sun Yat-sen, Danny O'Connell, Abraham Lincoln, and countless others are being asked to step once again upon the stage of history. I can't say too emphatically that we stand at a terminal point in history. At a moment of supreme world crisis, destruction lies ahead unless things are changed. And things must be changed, and changed by the people, because, brother, the enemies of man are dispossessing the world. Do you understand? I'm beginning to, I said, greatly impressed. There are other terms, other more accurate ways of saying all this, but we haven't time for that right now. We speak now in terms that are easy to understand, as you spoke to the crowd this morning. I see, I said, feeling uncomfortable under his stare. So it isn't a matter of whether you wish to be the new Booker T. Washington, my friend. Booker Washington was resurrected today at a certain eviction in Harlem. He came out from the anonymity of the crowd and spoke to the people. So you see, I don't joke with you or play with words either. There is a scientific explanation for this phenomenon. As our learned brother has graciously reminded me, you'll learn it in time. But whatever you call it in the reality of the world crisis is a fact. We are all realists here and materialists. It is a question of who shall determine the direction of events. That is why we've brought you into this room. This morning you answered the people's appeal. And we want you to be the true interpreter of the people. You shall be the new Booker T. Washington, but even greater than he. There was silence. I could hear the wet cracking of the pipe. Perhaps we should allow the brother to express himself as to how he feels about all this. The man with the pipe said, well, Brother Jack said, I looked into their waiting faces. Okay, so if you're a black man, you know what this feeling is like. You're in a room full of white people and they want you to freestyle. They want you to rap. They want you to teach them how to Dougie. So I don't even have to read the next line to know that our main character is going to be feeling very self-conscious, very anxious, very nervous, and probably is going to flop. Okay. Shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklai or Bouklao. Shout out to our I'm gonna assume he's French. You have to be French with a name like Abid. Anyway, but Abid is also a racial slur for black people. So I don't know. That could be a white fishing. That could be a black fishing Arab supremacist. Who knows? Who knows? Let me not get too deep into that. Let's continue here. I looked into their waiting faces. It's all so new to me that I don't know exactly what I do think. I said, do you really think you have the right man? You mustn't let that worry you, Brother Jack said. You will rise to the task. It is only necessary that you work hard and follow instructions. They stood up now. I looked at them, fighting a sense of unreality. They stared at me as the fellows had done when I was being initiated into my college fraternity. Only this was real, and now was the time for me to decide, or to say I thought they were crazy, and go back to Mary's. But what is there to lose, I thought. At least they've invited me, one of us, in at the beginning of something big. And besides, if I refused to join them, where would I go to a job as a porter at the railroad station? At least here was a chance to speak. When shall I start? I said. Tomorrow. We must waste no time. By the way, where are you living? I rent a room from a woman in Harlem, I said. A housewife? She's a widow, I said. She rents rooms. What is her educational background? She had very little. More or less like the old couple that was evicted, somewhat, but better able to take care of herself. She's tough, I said with a laugh. Does she ask a lot of questions? Are you friendly with her? She's been very nice to me, I said. She allowed me to stay on after I was unable to pay my rent. He shook his head. No. What is it? I said. It is best that you move, he said. We'll find you a place further downtown so that you'll be within easy call. But I have no money, and she's entirely trustworthy. That will be taken care of, he said, waving his hand. You must realize immediately that much of our work is opposed. Our discipline demands, therefore, that we talk to no one and that we avoid situations in which information might be given away unwittingly. So you must put aside your past. Do you have a family? Yes. Are you in touch with them? Of course. I write home now and then, I said, beginning to resent his method of questioning. His voice had become cold, searching. Then it's best that you cease for a while, he said. Anyway, you'll be too busy. Here. He fished into his vest pocket for something and got suddenly to his feet. All right. Shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklal up in the chat. Je ne parle français. Je ne parle français. But merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup for the chats. Okay. All right. So let's go here. Nothing. Excuse me, he said, rolling to the door and beckoning. Sorry. He fished into his vest for something and got suddenly to his feet. What is it? Someone asked. Nothing. Excuse me, he said, rolling to the floor and beckoning. In a moment, I saw the woman appear. Emma, the slip of paper I gave you, give it to the new brother, he said as she stepped inside and closed the door. Oh, so it's you, she said with a meaningful smile. I watched her reach into the bosom of her taffeta hostess gown and remove a white envelope. This is your new identity, Brother Jack said. Open it. Inside, I found a name written on a slip of paper. They're not even going to tell us the new name? They're not even going to tell us the new name? Okay. So, shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklal. The only English word he said is good. Good. Okay. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Abid Hamid Bouklal. Anyway, continuing here. So, that is your new name, Brother Jack said. Start thinking of yourself by that name from this moment. Get it down so that even if you are called in the middle of the night, you will respond. Very soon you shall be known by it all over the country. You are to answer to no other, understand? I'll try, I said. Don't forget his living quarters, the tall man said. No, Brother Jack said with a frown. Emma, please, some funds. How much, Jack, she said. He turned to me. Do you owe much rent? Too much, I said. Make it 300, Emma, he said. Damn, that's like handing a man 3,000 stacks. That's like handing a man $3,000 today. The lady just reached into her titty and pulled out $300 for the boy. Okay, all right. Damn, I wish the communists now were like the communists back then. Just had money to blow. just had money to blow. Man, we need the Soviets back. We need the Soviets back funding us, boy. For real, for real. I'm continuing here. Sorry. Anyway, make it 300, Emma, he said. Never mind, he said, as I showed my surprise at the sum. This will pay your debts and buy you clothing. Call me in the morning and I'll have selected your living quarters. For a start, your salary will be $60 a week. Damn, 60 a week? There was nothing I could say. The woman had crossed the room to the desk and returned with the money, placing it in my hand. You'd better put it away, she said expansively. You better put it away, she said expansively. Well, brothers, I believe that's all, he said. Emma, how about a drink? Of course, she said, going to a cabinet and removing a decanter and a set of glasses in which she poured about an inch of clear liquid. Here you are, brothers, she said. Taking his, Brother Jack raised it to his nose, inhaling deeply. To the brotherhood of man, to history and to change, he said, touching my glass. To history, we all said. The stuff burned, causing me to lower my head to hide the tears that popped from my eyes. Ah, someone said with deep satisfaction. Come along, Emma said. Let's join the others. Now for some pleasure, Brother Jack said. And remember your new identity. So, once again, I don't think anything has happened this blatantly that they don't see his true humanity. They gave him a new name. If I remember right, he didn't even tell the guy his actual name. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the theme of this book, we have no identity. We have no true essence in the subjectivity of others who are non-black. And so we are only their caricatures or creation in an Afro-pessimist sense, okay? So, shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklai for more French. Don't know what it means. Who knows? And y'all can translate that. But shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklai. All right, continuing here. So, I wanted to think, but they gave me no time. I was swept into the large room and introduced by my new name. Everyone smiled and seemed eager to meet me, as though they all knew the role I was to play. All grasped me warmly by the hand. What is your opinion of the state of women's rights, brother? I was asked by a plain woman in a large black velvet tarn. But before I could open my mouth, Brother Jack had pushed me along to a group of men, one of whom seemed to know all about the eviction. Nearby, a group around the piano were singing folk songs with more volume than melody. We moved from group to group. Brother Jack very authoritative, the others always respectful. He must be a powerful man, I thought, not a clown at all. But to hell with this Booker T. Washington business. I would do the work, but I would be no one except myself. Whoever I was, I would pattern my life on that of the founder. They might think I was acting like Booker T. Washington. Let them. But what I thought of myself, I would keep to myself. Yes, and I'd have to hide the fact that I had actually been afraid when I made my speech. Suddenly I felt laughter bubbling inside me. I'd have to catch up with this science of history business. We had to come to stand near the piano now, where an intense young man questioned me about various leaders of the Harlem community. I knew them only by my name, but pretended that I knew them all. Good, he said. Good, we have to work with all these forces during the coming period. Yes, you're right, I said, giving my glass a tinkling twirl. A short, broad man saw me and waved the others to halt. Say, brother, he called, hold the music, boys, hold it. Yes, brother, I said, you're just who we need. We've been looking for you. Oh, I said, how about a spiritual brother or one of those real good old Negro work songs like this? I went to Atlanta, never been there before, he sang, his arms held out from his body like a penguin's wings, glass in one hand, cigar in the other, white man sleep in a feather bed, nigga sleep on the floor, ha ha ha, how about it, brother? I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. Shout out to Samia Nusrat. Shout out to Samia Nusrat up in the chat. I'm from Louisiana, Black American from Louisiana, out here in Budapest, Hungary, doing some open source reading for the people. This is an open source book club. We are reading Invisible Man, and hopefully you enjoy it too, Samia. Anyway, I knew this was going to happen to our main character. He's going to walk into this room, nothing but whites. They're playing music. They're going to ask him to tap dance and sing. They're going to ask him to do the shuck and jive. They're going to ask him for a freestyle. They're going to ask him to become the DJ. You know this always happens. Okay? So, shout out to Samia Nusrat. Do I have an Insta? Samia Nusrat, unfortunately, I do not. I do not use Instagram. Okay? Shout out to Amsterdam Central. Yes, I love my hair too. I love the style. This is one of the beautiful things about being black. Unlike white men, black men can sport the baldy and look so cool, sexy, and fresh. Michael Jordan, Tupac, Ving Rhames, Denzel. You know what I'm saying? You could be a sexy, bald black man. Name a white man that's bald that is not a skinhead or a cancer patient, okay? Name a white man that is bald who is not a skinhead, Nazi, or a cancer patient. You can't, okay? So, shout out to Zher4898 as well, up in the live stream. I appreciate all of you showing love. I appreciate all of you showing love. Continue to leave comments, all right? And, yeah, let's go here. The brother does not sing, Brother Jack roared staccato. Nonsense. All colored people sing. This is an outrageous example of unconscious racial chauvinism, Jack said. Nonsense. I like their singing, the broad man said doggedly. The brother does not sing, Brother Jack cried, his face turning a deep purple. The broad man regarded him stubbornly. Why don't you let him say whether he can sing or not? Come on, brother, get a hot. Go down, Moses, he bellowed in a ragged baritone, putting down his cigar and snapping his fingers. Way down in Egypt's land, tell that old Pharaoh to let me colored folks sing. I'm for the rights of the colored brother to sing, he shouted belligerently. Shout out to Samia Nusrat. I love your energy too. I appreciate that. Much love to you. Much love to you and everybody else showing love in the live stream. Brother Jack looked as if he would choke. He raised his hand, signaling. I saw two men shoot from across the room and lead the short man roughly away. Brother Jack followed them as they disappeared beyond the door, leaving an enormous silence. For a moment I stood there, my eyes riveted upon the door. Then I turned, the glass hot in my hand, my face feeling as though it would explode. Why was everyone staring at me as though I were responsible? Why the hell were they staring at me? Suddenly I yelled. What's the matter with you? Haven't you ever seen a drunk? When someone off the foyer, the broad man's voice staggered drunkenly to us. St. Louis Mammy, with her diamond rings, and was clipped off by a slamming door, leaving a room full of bewildered faces. And suddenly I was laughing hysterically. All right? So, shout out to S-Master223. Shout out to S-Master223 up in the chat showing love. I appreciate you. Much love to you as well. Shout out to Abid Hamid Buklal. If somebody can translate what Abid is saying in the chat, that would be very helpful. Somebody copy and paste what he is saying and put it in the chat so we know what he is talking about. Anyway. He hit me in the face, I wheezed. He hit me in the face with a yard of chitlings. Bending double, roaring the whole room, seeming to dance up and down with each rapid eruption of laughter. He threw away a hog maw, I cried, but no one seemed to understand. My eyes filled, I could barely see. He's high as a Georgia pine, I laughed, turning up the group nearest me. He's absolutely drunk, off music. Yes, sure, a man said nervously. Ha ha. 3 shots in the wind, I laughed, getting my breath now, and discovering that the silent tension of the others was ebbing into a ripple of laughter that sounded throughout the room, growing swiftly to a roar, a laugh of all dimensions, intensities, and intonations. Everyone was joining in. The room fairly bounced. Okay? So, shout out to Mr. DH8070. There's nothing behind me but the light. Just got a lamp on. Left it on, sorry. And yeah, shout out to Abid as well. All right. So, and did you see Brother Jack's face? A man shouted, shaking his head. It was murder. Go down, Moses. I tell you, it was a murder. Across the room, they were pounding someone on the back to keep him from choking. Handkerchiefs appeared. There was much honking of noses, wiping of eyes. A glass crashed to the floor. A chair was overturned. I fought against the painful laughter, and as I calmed, I saw them looking at me with a sort of embarrassed gratitude. It was sobering, and yet they seemed bent upon pretending that nothing unusual had happened. They smiled. Several seemed about to come over and pound my back, shake my hand. It was as though I had told them something which they'd wished very much to hear, had rendered them an important service which I couldn't understand. But there it was, working in their faces. My stomach ached. I wanted to leave, but to get their eyes off me. Then a thin little woman came over and grasped my hand. "I'm so sorry that this had to happen," she said in a slow Yankee voice. "Really and truly sorry. Some of our brothers aren't so highly developed, you know, although they mean very well. You must allow me to apologize for him." "Oh, he was only tipsy," I said, looking into her thin New England face. "Yes, I know, and revealingly so. I would never ask our colored brothers to sing, even though I love to hear them, because I know that it would be a very backward thing. You are here to fight along with us, not to entertain. I think you understand me, don't you, brother?" I gave her a silent smile. "Of course you do. I must go now. Goodbye," she said, extending her little white-gloved hand and leaving. Okay? So shout out to Mr. DH8070 and shout out to Abid Hamid Buklai. All right. Very interesting that this main character is going through shit that we're going through still in 2026. Because I guarantee you, because I've had it happen to me very recently. You're in a room full of white people and somebody says something in relation to you being some form of entertainment for their subjectivity. And that's exactly what he just went through right there. It's such a relatable experience, okay? So if you've ever seen the film Sorry to Bother You, there's that famous scene where the main character, played by Lakeith Stanfield, is standing in front of a group of white people and they say, "Freestyle, freestyle." And he's never rapped a day in his life. So he just grabs the mic and starts saying, "Nigga shit, nigga shit, nigga, nigga, nigga shit." And all the white folks start saying. So one more thing, no racism on this channel, period. No racism on this channel. I won't be disrespected on this channel with anti-black racism, and neither will any of the people who choose to join our open source book club. We are making this a space where everybody should feel comfortable and welcome to enjoy great literature and discussion with friends. That's it. Continuing. I was puzzled. Oh, shout out to Alyssa Love Festival DJ. Shout out to Alyssa Love Festival DJ up in the live stream chat. Let's continue. Chapter 14. Yeah, chapter 14 of Invisible Man. Chapter 14 or 13, I forgot. Anyway. Yeah. I was puzzled. Just what did she mean? Was it that she understood that we resented having others think that we were all entertainers and natural singers? But now, after the mutual laughter, something disturbed me. Shouldn't there be some way for us to be asked to sing? Shouldn't the short man have the right to make a mistake without his motives being considered consciously or unconsciously malicious? After all, he was singing, or trying to. What if I asked him to sing? I watched the little woman dressed in black like a missionary, winding her way through the crowd. What on earth was she doing? What part did she play? Well, whatever she meant, she's nice, and I just like her. So this is another thing. This is another thing in relation to blackness, right? Shout out to Mr. DH8070. You can find out what we're reading by clicking the video. In the video, we have the full description of what we're doing. And we are reading Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, just to make it short. But for anybody who wants to know, you can just find out by clicking the actual video to see the description. It's not hard, okay? Anyway. This is one thing that I can relate to because I used to be a rapper in the past. I still love music, you know what I mean? And like I said, I've been in those situations when you've been asked to rap, asked to freestyle, asked to sing in a room full of whites, and it's very uncomfortable. You want to be able to be a full human because let's say somebody did find out that you like music or that, you know, you were an entertainer in the past or something like that. You want to be able to be a full human and interact with other people in a non sort of derogatory or racially influenced type of way. But that's the problem with our system of discrimination that we deal with in the United States and how anti-blackness permeates the world, is that somebody asks you to rap. Somebody asks you, do you like fried chicken? Somebody asks you, do you eat watermelon? And it's layered with all these other sorts of conjectures with it, which makes it hard for actual human interactions to be done with. You know what I mean? And we will reach that place in the future when none of that will matter. All right. But it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of unlearning and dismantling this capitalistic system that, divides people, this racial capitalistic system. Right. All right. Shout out to Abid, always up in the live stream, leaving comments. All right. Continuing here. So just then, Emma came up and challenged me to dance, and I led her toward the floor as the piano played, thinking of the vet's prediction and drawing her to me as though I danced with such as her every evening. For having committed myself, I felt that I could never allow myself to show surprise or upset, even when confronted with situations furthest from my experience. Otherwise, I might be considered undependable or unworthy. I felt that somehow they expected me to perform even those tasks for which nothing in my experience, except perhaps my imagination, had prepared me. Still, it was nothing new. White folks seemed always to expect you to know those things which they'd done everything they could think of to prevent you from knowing. Wow, that's a deep sentence. All right? So shout out to Dreamman5588. Shout out to Dreamman5588. Okay, let's read that one more time. Let's read that sentence one more time. So still, it was nothing new. White folks seemed always to expect you to know those things which they'd done everything they could of to prevent you from knowing. Okay, so white folks expect you to do things that they had stopped you from knowing or knowing how to do in general, right? So white folks expect you to be able to, recite the Constitution of the United States backwards in order to vote as it used to be done, but they don't give you the capabilities to learn how to vote, learn how to read, right? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, the thing to do was to be prepared, as my grandfather had been when it was demanded that he quote the entire United States Constitution. I didn't even read that ahead of time. See, but I'm on the same wavelength as Ralph Ellison. Look at that. The thing to do was to be prepared, as my grandfather had been when it was demanded that he quote the entire United States Constitution as a test of his fitness to vote. I didn't even know that sentence was coming, but that was right there. You get what I'm saying? Incredible. He had confounded them all by passing the test, although they still refused him the ballot. Anyway, these were different. That's powerful. That's fucking powerful, man. I love this book so fucking much. For real. Continuing. It was close to 5 a.m., many dances and many bourbons later, when I reached Mary's. Somehow I felt surprised that the room was still the same, except that Mary had changed the bed linen. Good old Mary. I felt sadly sober. And as I undressed, I saw my outworn clothes and realized that I'd have to shed them. Certainly, it was time. Even my hat would go. Its green was sun-faded and brown, like a leaf struck by the winter's snow. Shout out to Mr. HD, 8070 up in the chat. Shout out to the Korean that asked if people like weed. I don't know why people would like weed up in here. You shouldn't be reading while high. That's for sure. Anyway, yeah. So, I would require a new hat for my new name, a black broad-brimmed one, perhaps a Homburg. Homburg? I laughed. Well, I could leave packing for tomorrow. I had very little, which was perhaps all to the good. I would travel light, far and fast. They were fast people, all right. What a vast difference between Mary and those for whom I was leaving her. And why should it be this way? That the very job might make it possible for me to do some of the things which she expected of me required that I leave her. What kind of room would Brother Jack select for me, and why wasn't I left to select my own? It didn't seem right that in order to become a Harlem leader, I should live elsewhere. Yet nothing seemed right, and I would have to rely upon their judgment. They seemed expert in such matters. All right. Continuing here. Mr. DH8070 says why? What do you mean by why? Okay, what do you mean by why? Explain that. Okay? So, but how far could I trust them? And in what way were they different from the trustees? Whatever, I was committed. I'd learn in the process of working with them, I thought, remembering the money. The bills were crisp and fresh, and I tried to imagine Mary's surprise when I paid her all my back rent and board. She'd think that I was kidding, but money could never repay her generosity. She would never understand my wanting to move so quickly after getting a job. And if I had any kind of success at all, it would seem the height of ingratitude. How would I face her? She had asked for nothing in return, or hardly anything except that I make something of myself that she called a race leader. I shivered in the cold, telling her that I was moving would be a hard proposition. I didn't like to think of it, but one couldn't be sentimental. As Brother Jack has said, history makes harsh demands of us all. But they were demands that had to be met if men were to be the masters and not the victims of their times. Did I believe that? Perhaps. I had already begun to pay. Besides, I might as well admit right now, I thought that there are many things about people like Mary that I dislike. For one thing, they seldom know where their personalities end and yours begin. They usually think in terms of we, while I have always tended to think in terms of me. And that has caused some friction, even with my own family. Brother Jack and the others talked in terms of we, but it was a different, bigger we. So, all right, Mr. DH says this book is good. I'll check it out. You should. It's an absolutely fabulous book. And I'm so happy that you're saying that you want to check out this book. Shout out to Nicole T. Naj. Shout out to Nicole T. Naj up in the chat. Salute to you. And, or is it Nicolette Naj? Nicolette Naj. Shout out to Nicolette up in the chat as well. Mr. DH, I'm very happy that you said that you like this book and you want to check it out. It's one of the best books ever written. All right. Shout out to Nicolette Naj. She said, call me Red. Okay. Well, shout out to Red as well as we continue to read this book. Well, I had a new name and new problems. I had best leave the old behind. Perhaps it would be best not to see Mary at all. Just place the money in an envelope and leave it on the kitchen table where she'd be sure to find it. I would be better that way, I thought drowsily. Then there'd be no need to stand before her and stumble over emotions and words that were at best all snarled up and undifferentiated. One thing about the people at the Canothian, they all seemed able to say just what they felt and meant in hard, clear terms. That, too, I'd have to learn. I stretched out beneath the covers, hearing the springs groan beneath me. The room was cold. I listened to the night sounds of the house. The clock ticked with empty urgency, as though trying to catch up with the time. In the street, a siren howled. All right. Shout out to Nicolette Naj up in the chat. Mr. DH says it's not related to the movie. There hasn't been, as far as I know, Invisible Man the movie. This is a different Invisible Man. You're thinking about the book, I believe, by H.G. Wells, where a man actually turns invisible. This is Invisible Man, the story of Ralph Ellison, where people cannot see, metaphorically, the black man that's in front of him or in front of them. You know what I mean? So, Nicolette Naj says, call me anything, okay? Well, sorry, Red, I forgot your name. All right. Shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklal, Blues Brothers. They free? Okay. He's finally learning English. We have one more chapter to read. We just finished chapter 14. I like chapter 14 a lot. It's a bit of criticism or, once again, parody of Marxist, communist, socialist, right? And I thought it was very well done. He got, once again, that liberal racism, that leftist racism that still permeates among white leftists and liberals. They asked him to do a song and dance, which was very cringe. But also it's very interesting how him joining this group means he has to leave this older black woman that took care of him, right? And he started talking about how much he hated Mary when she started talking about we. Because her we is very parochial, very tribal. And here, the Brotherhood, the white leftists he's joining, say we, and they're thinking of the working class, the proletariat, right? And it's so much greater and grander, right? And it just makes you feel like, how come he couldn't just appreciate the we? That's the love that Mary was showing. Obviously, a shoo-in for the type of love that Big Mama shows. You know what I mean? That down home, old-fashioned love, you know? So very interesting how they did that. So, yeah. Da, 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 da. So shout out to Nicolette Naj up in the chat and everybody from Hungary joining this live stream. And yeah, if y'all are from Hungary, I appreciate y'all joining. Hopefully you like books. Hopefully you like English books. If you're looking for an English teacher, send me an email. We can work out something on how I could be your personal tutor while I'm out here in Budapest, Hungary. I'm doing some teaching for people in person and also online, and we can have that working out. So shout out to Halicerium. Halicerium. Y'all need some better screen names. Shout out to Halicerium up in the chat as well. And let's do this. Let's jump into chapter 15 of Invisible Man. Okay. Then I was awake and not awake, sitting bolt upright in bed and trying to peer through the sick gray light as I sought the meaning of the brash, nerve-jangling sound. Pushing the blanket aside, I clasped my hands to ears. Someone was pounding the steam line, and I stared helplessly for what seemed minutes. My ears throbbed, my side began itching violently, and I tore open my pajamas to scratch. And suddenly the pain seemed to leap from my ears to my side, and I saw gray marks appearing where the old skin was flaking away beneath my digging nails. And as I watched, I saw thin lines of blood well up in the scratches, bringing pain and joining time and place again. And I thought, the room has lost its heat on my last day at Mary's, and suddenly I was sick at heart. Oh, okay, bad luck. All right. Shout out to Mr. Kitty up in the chat. Wild name. Okay. Mr. DH said, scary. The clock, its alarm, lost in the larger sound, said 7:30, and I got out of bed. I'd have to hurry. There was shopping to do before I called Brother Jack for my instructions, and I had to get the money to Mary. Why didn't they stop that noise? I reached for my shoes, flinching as the knocking seemed to sound an inch above my head. Why don't they stop, I thought, and why do I feel so let down? The bourbon, my nerves going bad? Suddenly, I was across the room in a bound, pounding the pipe furiously with my shoe heel. Stop it, you ignorant fool. My head was splitting. Beside myself, I struck pieces of silver from the pipe, exposing the black and rusted iron. He was using a piece of metal now, his blows ringing with a ragged edge. If only I knew who it was, I thought, looking for something heavy with which to strike back. If only I knew. Then near the door I saw something which I'd never noticed there before, the cast iron figure of a very black, red-lipped and wide-mouthed Negro, whose wide eyes stared up at me from the floor, his face an enormous grin, his single large black hand held palm up before his chest. It was a bank, a piece of early Americana, the kind of bank which, if a coin is placed in the hand and a lever pressed upon the back, will raise its arm and flip the coin into the grinning mouth. For a second I stopped, feeling hate charging within me, then dashed over and grabbed it, suddenly as enraged by the tolerance or lack of discrimination, or whatever, that allowed Mary to keep such a self-mocking image around, as by the knocking. Okay? In my hand, its expression seemed more of a strangulation than a grin. It was choking, filled to the throat with coins. How the hell did it get here, I wondered, dashing over and striking the pipe a blow with the kinky iron head. Shut up, I screamed, which seemed only to enrage the hidden knocker. The din was deafening. Tenants up and down the entire line of apartments joined in. I hammered back with the iron naps, seeing the silver fly, striking like driven sand against my face. The pipe fairly hummed with the blows. Winds were going up. Voices yelled obscenities down the air shaft. Who started all this, I wondered? Who's responsible? Why don't you act like responsible people living in the 20th century? I yelled, aiming a blow at the pipe. Get rid of your cotton patch ways. Act civilized. Okay, our main character still has a bit of trash panda energy. He's still got a bit of raccoon in him. Okay? So, Mr. DH says, what's up with Mary? So Mary is the woman that our main character is staying with. It's an older black woman who runs like a sort of shelter house because our main character went to New York on the false promise of a job. He ended up jobless, and she ended up taking him in, and she's been taking care of him, even though he doesn't pay rent. He's about to move out of Mary's house because now he's got money from this left-wing radical group that wants him to be their spokesperson. But right now, this on his last night in Mary's house, there's no heat, and somebody is dinging on the pipes, causing everybody in the apartment to wake up. Like, who is this asshole making this dinging sound on the pipes? So that's what's happening right here. Okay? And yeah, continuing here. Then came a crash of sound, and I felt the iron head crumble and fly apart in my hand. Coins flew over the room like crickets, ringing, rattling against the floor, rolling. I stopped dead. Just listen to him, just listen to him, Mary called from the hall. Enough noise to wake the dead. They know when the heat don't come up that the super's drunk or done walked off the job looking for his woman or something. Why don't folks act according to what they know? She was at my door now, knocking stroke for stroke with the blows, landing on the pipe, calling, "Son, ain't some of that knocking coming from in there?" I turned from side to side in indecision, looking at the pieces of broken head and small coins of all denominations that were scattered about. "You hear me, boy?" she called. "What is it?" I called, dropping to the floor and reaching frantically for the broken pieces, thinking, if she opens the door, I'm lost. I said, "Is any of that racket coming from in there?" "Yes, it is, Mary," I called, "but I'm all right. I'm already awake." I saw the knob move and froze hearing. Sounded to me like a heap of it was coming from in there. "You got your clothes on?" "No," I cried. "I'm just dressing. I'll have them on in a minute." "Come on, out. Come on out to the kitchen," she said. "It's warm out there, and there's some hot water on the stove to wash your face in, and some coffee. Lord, just listen at that racket." I stood as though frozen until she moved away from the door. I'd have to hurry. I kneeled, picking up a piece of the bank, a part of the red-shirted chest, reading the legend, "Feed Me," in a curve of white iron letters, like the team name of an athlete's shirt. The figure had gone to pieces, like a grenade, scattering jagged fragments of painted iron among the coins. I looked at my hand. A small trickle of blood showed. I wiped it away, thinking, I'll have to hide this mess. I can't take her this and the news that I'm moving at the same time. Taking a newspaper from the chair, I folded it stiffly and swept the coins and broken metal into a pile. Where would I hide it, I wondered, looking with a profound distaste at the iron kinks, the dull red of a piece of grinning lip. Why, I thought with anguish, would Mary have something like this around anyway? Just why? I looked under the bed. It was dustless there. No place to hide anything. She was too good a housekeeper. Besides, what of the coins? Hell, maybe the thing was left by the former roomer. Anyway, whose ever it was, it had to be hidden. There was the closet, but she'd find it there too. After I was gone a few days, she'd clean out my things, and there it would be. The knocking had gone beyond mere protest over heatlessness now. They had fallen into a ragged rumba rhythm. Knock, 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 knock. Vibrating the very floor. Shout out to Abid Hamid Bouklai up in the chat with the mad French. He's going crazy with the French. If you're a translator, let me know what he's saying. Anyway. Just a few minutes more, you bastards, I said aloud. I'll be gone. No respect for the individual. Why don't you think about those who might wish to sleep? What if someone is near a nervous breakdown? But there was still the package. There was nothing to do but get rid of it along the way down. Making a tight bundle, I placed it in my overcoat pocket. I'd simply have to give Mary enough money to cover the coins. I'd give her as much as I could spare, half of what I had, if necessary. That should make up for some of it. She should appreciate that. And now I realized with a feeling of dread that I had to meet her face to face. There was no way out. Why can't I just tell her that I'm leaving and pay her and go on off? She was a landlady. I was a tenant. No, there was more to it, and I wasn't hard enough, scientific enough, even to tell her that I was leaving. I'll tell her I have a job, anything, but it has to be now. She was sitting at the table drinking coffee when I went in, the kettle hissing away on the stove, sending up jets of steam. Gee, but you slow this morning, she said. Take some of that water in the kettle and go wash your face. Though sleepy as you look, maybe you ought to just use cold water. This'll do, I said flatly, feeling the steam drifting upon my face, growing swiftly damp and cold. The clock above the stove was slower than mine. In the bathroom, I put in the plug and poured some of the hot water and cooled it from the spigot. I kept the tea-warm water on my face upon my face a long time, then dried and returned to the kitchen. Run it full again, she said when I returned. How you feel? So, I said. She sat with her elbows upon the enameled tabletop, her cup held in both hands, one work-worn little finger delicately curved. I went to the sink and turned the spigot, feeling the cold rush of water upon my hand, thinking of what I had to do. That's enough there, boy, Mary said, startling me. Wake up. I guess I'm not all here, I said. My mind was wandering. Well, call it back and come get you some coffee. Soon's I've had mine, I'll see what kind of breakfast I can whip together. I guess after last night you can eat this morning. You didn't come back for supper? I'm sorry, I said. Coffee will be enough for me. Boy, you better start eating again, she warned, pouring me a full cup of coffee. I took the cup and sipped it, black. It was bitter. She glanced from me to the sugar bowl and back again, but remained silent, then swirled her cup, looking into it. Guess I'll have to get some better filters, she mused. These I got lets through the grounds along with the coffee, the good with the bad. I don't know, though. Even with the best of filters, you apt to find a ground or two at the bottom of your cup. I blew upon the steaming liquid, avoiding Mary's eyes. The knocking was becoming unbearable again. I'd have to get away. I looked at the hot metallic surface of the coffee, noticing an oily opalescent swirl. Look, Mary, I said, plunging in. I want to talk to you about something. Now see here, boy, she said gruffly. I don't want you worrying me about your rent this morning. I'm not worried because when you get it, I know you'll pay me. Meanwhile, you forget it. Nobody in this house is going to starve. You have any luck lining up a job? No, I mean, not exactly, I stammered, seizing the opportunity. But I've got an appointment to see about one this morning. Her face brightened. Oh, that's fine. You'll get something yet. I know it. But about my debt, I began again. Don't worry about it. How about some hot cakes? She asked, rising and going to look into the cabinet. They'll stick with you in the cold weather. I won't have time, I said, but I've got something for you. What's that? She said, her voice coming muffled as she peered inside the cabinet. Here, I said, hurriedly reaching into the pocket for the money. What? Let's see if I get some syrup. But look, I said eagerly, removing a $100 bill. Must be on a higher shelf, she said, her back still turned. I sighed as she dragged a step ladder from beside the cabinet and mounted it, holding onto the doors and peering upon an upper shelf. I'd never get it, said. But I'm trying to give you something, I said. Why don't you quit bothering me, boy? You trying to give me what? She said, looking over her shoulder. I held up the bill. This, I said. She craned her head around. Boy, what you got there? It's money. Money? Good God, boy, she said, almost losing her balance as she turned completely around. Where'd you get all that money? You've been playing the numbers? That's it. My number came up, I said thankfully, thinking, what'll I say if she asked what the number was? I didn't know. I had never played numbers. But how come you didn't tell me? I'd have at least put a nickel on it. That's funny. That's funny. He shows her a $100 bill. She says, what'd you do, boy? You went and won at gambling? And he's like, yeah, gambling. And she's like, damn, I should have gambled too. That's funny. I didn't think it would do anything, I said. Well, I declare, and I bet it was your first time too. It was. See there, I knowed you was a lucky one. Here I've been playing for years, and the first drop of the bucket you hits for that kind of money. I'm so glad for you, son. I really am. But I don't want your money. You wait till you get a job. But I'm not giving you all of it, I said hastily. This is just on account. But that's $100 bill. I take that and try to change it, and the white folks want to know my whole life's history, she snorted. They want to know where I was born, where I work, and where I've been for the last 6 months. And when I tell them, they still gonna think I stole it. Ain't you got nothing smaller? That's the smallest. Take it, I pleaded. I'll have enough left. She looked at me shrewdly. You sure? It's the truth, I said. Well, I declare. Let me get down from up before I fall and break my neck, son, she said, coming down off the ladder. I sure do appreciate it, but I tell you, I'm just going to keep part of it for myself, and the rest I'm going to save for you. You get hard up, just come to Mary. I think I'll be all right now, I said, watching her fold the money carefully, placing it in the leather bag that always hung on the back of her chair. I'm really glad, because now I can take care of that bill they've been bothering me about. It'll do me so much good to go in there and plop down some money and tell them folks to quit bothering me. Son, I believe your luck done changed. You dreamed that number? I glanced at her eager face. Yes, I said, but it was a mixed-up dream. What was the figure? Jesus, what's this? She cried, getting up and pointing at the linoleum near the steam line. I saw a small drove of roaches trooping frantically down the streamline from the floor above, plummeting to the floor as the vibration of the pipe shook them off. Get the broom, Mary yelled. Out of the closet there. Nasty. Roaches. We hate roaches. Stepping around the chair, I snatched the broom and joined her, splattering the scattering roaches with both broom and feet, hearing the pop and snap as I brought the pressure down upon them vehemently. The filthy, stinking things, Mary cried. Get that one under the table. Yon, he's gone. Don't let him get away. The nasty rascal. I swung the broom, battering and sweeping the squashed insects into piles. Breathing excitedly, Mary got the dustpan and handed it to me. Some folks just live in filth, she said disgustedly. Just let a little knocking start and here it comes crawling out. All you have to do is shake things a bit. I looked at the damp spots of the linoleum, then shakily replaced the pan and broom and stared out of the room. Aren't you going to eat no breakfast, she said. Soon as I wipe up this mess, I'm going to start. I don't have time, I said, my hand on the knob. My appointment is early, a few things to do beforehand. Then you better stop and have you something hot soon as you can. Don't do to go around in this cold weather without something in your belly. And don't think you're going to start eating out just because you got some money. I don't. I'll take care of it, I said to her back as she washed her hands. Well, good luck, son, she called. You really give me a pleasant surprise this morning. And if that's a lie, I hope something big will bite me. She laughed gaily, and I went down the hall to my room and closed the door. Pulling on my overcoat, I got down my prized briefcase from the closet. It was still as new as the night of the Battle Royale, and sagged now as I placed the smashed bank and coins inside and locked the flap. Then I closed the closet door and left. The knocking didn't bother me so much now. Mary was singing something sad and serene as I went down the hall, and still singing as I opened the door and stepped into the outside hall. Then I remembered, and there, beneath the dim hall light, I took the faintly perfumed paper from my wallet and carefully unfolded it. A tremor passed over me. The hall was cold. Then it was gone, and I squinted and took a long, hard look at my new Brotherhood name. The night snowfall was already being churned to muck by the passing cars, and it was warmer. Joining the pedestrians along the walk, I could feel the briefcase swinging against my leg from the weight of the package, and I determined to get rid of the coins and broken iron at the first ash can. I needed nothing like this to remind me of my last morning at Mary's. Why didn't he just let Mary have the coins? But then again, she would know that he broke the piggy bank, right? I made for a row of crushed garbage cans lined before a row of old private houses, coming alongside and tossing the package casually into one of them and moving on, only to hear a door open up behind me and a voice ring out, "Oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. Just come right back here and get it." Turning, I saw a little woman standing on the stoop with a green coat covering her head and shoulders, its sleeves hanging limp like extra atrophied arms. "I mean you," she called. "Come on back and get your trash, and don't ever put your trash in my can again." She was a short yellow woman with a pince nez on a chain, her hair pinned up in knots. We keep our place clean and respectable, and we don't want you field hard R's. We don't want you field NI, you know the rest, coming up here from the south and ruining things. She shouted with blazing hate. Oh, she wildin'. She wildin'. People were stopping to look. A super from a building down the block came out and stood in the middle of the walk, pounding his fist against his palm with a dry smacking sound. I hesitated, embarrassed and annoyed. Was this woman crazy? I mean it. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Just take it right out, Rosalie. Just take it right out. Rosalie, she called to someone inside the house. Call the police. Rosalie. I can't afford that, I thought, and walked back to the can. What does it matter, miss? I called up to her. When the collectors come, garbage is garbage. I just didn't want to throw it into the street. I didn't know that some kinds of garbage were better than others. Never mind your impertinence, she said. I'm sick and tired of having you southern Negroes mess up things for the rest of us. Oh, she classist. She light-skinned, she high yellow, she just classless and bougie, high sedity. Oh, no. All right, I said, I'll get it. I reached into the half-filled can, feeling for the package as the fumes of rotting swill entered my nostrils. It felt unhealthy to my hand, and the heavy package had sunk far down. Cursing, I pushed back my sleeve from my clean hand and probed until I found it. Then I wiped off my arm with a handkerchief and started away, aware of the people who paused to grin at me. Embarrassing, embarrassing. It serves you right, the little woman called from the stoop. And I turned and started upward. That's enough out of you, you piece of yellow gone to waste, unless you still want to call the police. My voice had taken on a new shrill pitch. I've done what you wanted me to do. Another word and I'll do what I want to do. She looked at me with widening eyes. I believe you would, she said, opening the door. I believe you would. Okay, she trying to flirt. She trying to flirt. I not only would, I'd love it, I said. I can see that you're no gentleman, she called, slamming the door. At the next row of cans, I wiped off my wrist and hands with a piece of newspaper, then wrapped the rest of the package. Next time, I throw it into the street. He should give it to a homeless man. If it's a suitcase full of money, just a few coins, give it to a homeless man. I don't know. 2 blocks further along, my anger had ebbed, but I felt strangely lonely. Even the people who stood around me at the intersection seemed isolated, each lost in his own thoughts. And now, just as the lights changed, I let the package fall into the trampled snow and hurried across, thinking, there, it's done. I had covered 2 blocks when someone called behind me. Say, buddy, hey there, you mister, wait a second. And I could hear the hurried crunching of footsteps upon the snow. Then he was beside me, a squat man in worn clothes, the strands of his breath showing white in the cold as he smiled at me, panting. You was moving fast, so I thought I wasn't going to be able to stop you, he said. Didn't you lose something back there? A piece? Oh, hell. A friend in need, I thought, deciding to deny it. Lose something, I said. Why no? You sure? He said, frowning. Yes, I said, seeing his forehead wrinkle with uncertainty, a hot charge of fear leaping to his eyes as he searched my face. But I seen you. Say, buddy, he said, looking swiftly back up the street. What you trying to do? Do what you mean. I mean, talking about you didn't lose nothing. You working a con game or something? He backed away, looking hurriedly at the pedestrians back up the street from where he'd come. What on earth are you talking about now? I said. I tell you I didn't lose anything. Man, don't tell me. I seen you. What the hell you mean? He said, furtively removing the package from his pocket. This here feels like money or a gun or something, and I know damn well I seen you drop it. Oh, that, I said. That isn't anything. I thought you... That's right. Oh, so you remember now, don't you? I think I'm doing you a favor and you play me for a fool. You some kind of confidence man or dope peddler or something? You trying to work one of those pigeon drops on me? Pigeon drop, I said. You're making a mistake. Mistake? Hell, take this damn stuff, he said, thrusting the package in my hands as though it were a bomb with a lighted fuse. I got a family, man. I try to do you a favor, and here you trying to get me into trouble. You running from a detective or something? Wait a minute, I said. You're letting your imagination run away. This is nothing but garbage. Don't try to hand me that simple-minded crap, he wheezed. I know what kind of garbage it is. You young New York Negroes is a blip. I swear you is. I hope they catch you and put your ass under the jail. See, that's just funny. This is why I love this book, because that's just funny. 2 seconds ago, this light-skinned lady's yelling at him like, you field Negroes from the South are coming up north and messing it up for all of us. 5 seconds later, a black man in New York runs up to him and says, you young New York niggas is always on some shit. It's too funny. I love it. I love it. He shot away as though I had smallpox. I looked at the package. He thinks it's a gun or stolen goods, I thought, watching him go. A few steps farther along, I was about to toss it boldly into the street when upon looking back, I saw him, joined by another man now, gesturing toward me indignantly. I hurried away. Give him time and the fool will call a policeman. I dropped the package back into the briefcase. I'd wait until I got downtown. On the subway, people around me were reading their morning papers, pressing forward their unpleasant faces. I rode with my eyes shut, trying to make my mind blank to thoughts of Mary. Then turning, I saw the item, violent protest over Harlem eviction, just as the man lowered his paper and moved out of the breaking doors. I could hardly wait until I reached 42nd Street, where I found the story carried on the front page of a tabloid, and I read it eagerly. I was referred to only as an unknown rabble-rouser who had disappeared in the excitement, but that it referred to me was unmistakable. It had lasted for 2 hours, the crowd refusing to vacate the premises. I entered the clothing store with a new sense of self-importance. I selected a more expensive suit than I intended, and while it was being altered, I picked up a hat, shorts, shoes, underwear, and socks, then hurried to call Brother Jack, who snapped his orders like a general. I was to go to a number on the Upper East Side where I'd find a room, and I was to read over some of the Brotherhood's literature, which had been left there for me, with the idea of my making a speech at the Harlem rally to be held that evening. The address was that of an undistinguished building in a mixed Spanish-Irish neighborhood, and there were boys throwing snowballs across the street when I rang the super's bell. The door was opened by a small, pleasant-faced woman who smiled. Good morning, brother, she said. The apartment is all ready for you. He said you'd come about this time, and I've just this minute come down. My, just look at that snow. I followed her up 3 flights of stairs, wondering what on earth apartment. This is it, she said, removing a chain of keys from her pocket and opening a door at the front of the hall. I went into a small, comfortably furnished room that was bright with the winter sun. This is the living room, she said proudly, and over here is your bedroom. It was much larger than I needed, with a chest of drawers, 2 upholstered chairs, 2 closets, a bookshelf, and a desk on which was stacked the literature to which he'd referred. A bathroom lay off the bedroom, and there was a small kitchen. I hope you like it, brother, she said as she left. If there's anything you need, please ring my bell. Okay. He got a whole new apartment, and it came with a white woman. Damn. Okay. Anyway, this is the last paragraph we're going to read today. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions of books that we should read for Book React, put it in the comments right now. We're going to be wrapping up this live stream very soon, and I want to say thank you to everybody who joined before we read this last paragraph. Anyway, getting your first apartment as a man, no matter how you get it, it's just such a masculating, if that's a word. It's such a manhood affirming experience. I cannot forget the first time I moved into my first apartment, which I paid for by myself after working so fucking hard that I was sleeping in my car to save up for it. You know what I mean? And that was such a manhood defining moment for me. I'll never forget that. So yeah, continuing. The apartment was clean and neat, and I liked it, especially the bathroom with its tub and shower. And as quickly as I could, I drew a bath and soaked myself. The feeling clean and exhilarated, I went out to puzzle over the Brotherhood books and pamphlets. My briefcase with the broken image lay on the table. I will get rid of the package later. Right now, I had to think about tonight's rally. I think there is a little bit of symbolism with the, basically the lawn jockey, the racist caricature, the piggy bank, and I presume you could also call it the niggy bank, being broken in a briefcase filled up with coins. There probably is a deep metaphor there, but I'm not going to just, dig for it. But I can understand why Ellison wrote that. I would love to know what you think the piggy bank is supposed to represent. But we will come back to Invisible Man tomorrow. We'll probably read 3 chapters. Because we want to try to finish this book, over these next few days. So we're going to wrap it up here. Shout out to everybody who joined the live stream. Let's close these polls. We're going to end this poll on the other live stream. No votes on that one. Nobody tuned into that one, but the vertical live stream tonight was crazy. Got a lot of people in the vertical live stream. Let's see what the results of the polls were for this live stream. It's probably a lot. All right. Okay. All right, so for the results, the rapper LaRussell said Epstein, Hitler, and Trump were heaven sent. Was he wrong? Shout out to J5Q9V. Shout out to J5Q9V. Anyway, the rapper LaRussell said Epstein, Hitler, and Trump were heaven sent. Was he wrong? 49% of you said yes because all of them were evil. Okay. How many votes did we get, by the way? I cannot zoom out. I hate when I can't zoom out on this computer. Okay. Hold on. How many votes did we get? Come on. Okay, we got 16 votes. Damn, we had a lot of people in here, but only 16 votes. Sad. Anyway. Okay, so yes, because all of them were evil, 49%. Fuck Donald Trump, he's a pedo, 38%. I'm not sure, but it sounds wrong, 13%. And nah, everyone has some good, even Hitler, 0%. I am absolutely happy with those results. Those are perfect results. Okay? So, you be easy out there, and peace.